So today we're going to talk about databases using Microsoft Access. This will be our first video in the practical series. The very first video will be just a little bit about databases and how to import data into the Microsoft Access database, right? Then it will be a sequence or a series of videos. The very first one being, as I said, importing. Then the subsequent ones will tackle queries and report. And then we'll talk about labels. Then we'll wrap up Microsoft Access. All right. So before I begin, we'll be using three papers today. Three past papers. The specimen paper from 2023, the 2024 May-June variant 1, and then February-March 2023 variant 1. Before I dive in, let's talk a little bit about databases. So we do know that the database is an organized collection of data or a structured collection of data, right? Now, we have two types, which is the flat file and the relational database. Today, our focus will be mainly on the relational database, right? So for every database, there are some key things we need to know. These are that a database will be made up of tables, and each table will have a field and a record, and the database itself will be saved in a file. So we say that a field is a single item of data. A field will store just one type of data, which we normally refer to as data type. There are three main data types in Access. These are alphanumeric, which is also referred to as text; numeric, which has a number of subtypes, specifically 4, which is integer for whole numbers, decimal for real numbers or numbers with decimal numbers. Then we have date and time, and finally currency, all right, to enable us apply local currency formatting. The last of the three is Boolean, all right, which gives us yes or no, true or false, on or off. Now, besides these three main data types in Access, there's one more that is known as the auto number. The auto number, what it does is it generates an incrementing number from 1 to the last record. Sometimes you'll be asked to create an ID, and you have the option to let Access create that for you, and it will set the data type as auto number. All right. Now, we can also talk about primary and foreign keys. We know that Access is a relational database management system. In order to effectively create these relationships between the two tables or the tables in a database, we need primary and foreign key. Now, a primary key we know should be unique, all right? There can be no repetitions. There cannot be any two records that will have the same primary key, because we say a primary key uniquely identifies a record, where a record is a collection of fields. So if you have a table that has student ID, first name, last name, date of birth, now the student ID, first name, last name, date of birth becomes a record of that student, right? Now, when we move a primary key and place it in another table, right, now that primary key becomes a foreign key, all right, because it's primary key in one table, but then when it gets to another table, it becomes a foreign key, because in that table it's not a primary key. Usually the foreign key has the same data type as the primary key, and also usually contains the same data as the primary key. Okay, so let's dive in quickly. Okay, so the first paper we'll be using is the Specimen 2023, Tax 3, 6 database. So you are now going to prepare some reports. Make sure all currency values display a currency symbol and are set to 0 decimal places. Now, it is very essential that you read the entire question. Not necessarily the full paper, but if I'm answering question 18, read the whole question 18 before you attempt. right? But normally when you are answering the question, you can just spend 5 minutes and read through the entire paper just to have an idea what it's about. So question 18, using a suitable database package, which for us is Microsoft Access, import the file sp02yat.csv. Use these field names and data types. So we have here field name, data type. All right, the field name is yat, type, yat ID, length, builder ID, price, build year, sleeps, crew. For every field name, there's a specific data type. So for yat, the data type is text. For type, it's text. Yat ID, text. Length is number. Now we do know that number or numeric has subtypes. It wasn't stated here. Okay. Usually the data that we are importing will guide Microsoft Access as to what kind of data or what kind of data type to set for the field. All right. Many a times or a couple of times, the data will come with a certain data type, but the question will ask you to change to a different data type. All right. So builder ID is text. Price is numeric or currency. So in this case, the specific subtype of currency has been set. Build year is number, sleeps, number, crew, number, no subtypes. Okay, so now in the third column, this third column will guide us as to the kind of data type we are working with, especially for numeric types, all right? The specific subtype, I mean. So for length, we say, although it's number, it says 1 decimal place. So even though it wasn't specified here, we now know that it ought to be a decimal. Now, Access will represent decimals as double. Okay, we'll see that very soon. And here, although it's currency, as we see here, it says it should be set to 0 decimal places. We deal with this column after we import and we head to design view. So let's quickly head to Access and then do the practical aspect. Okay, so when you get Microsoft Access, you get this option, blank database, all right? Many a times, you just click create because we are not bothered about the name of the database. But just in case your machine goes off or your Access choose to close this unintentionally, we can set a name. So for this one, we are dealing with the Y23 specimen, so we can make Y23DB. And we take note of where the database is stored. Access will normally store it in your document. So you see the file path, it ends at document. So my database is Y23DB, I create. Okay, so this first table here is not necessary. It's just a starting point Access gives you, all right. Now to import, we head to external data. But we don't need this, so we can close. But before I close it, let me just point something out. Now, when we head to external data, many a times we'll be tempted to click these straight away, but that will be wrong. Now, take note of the group. This is the export group. This is the import group. We want to import, not export. So when we do this, we will get some strange things and we'll end up confusing ourselves. Now, to prevent this from happening, what we can do is, once this table comes up, we can just close it. Now, when I head back to external data, we can see that all this is off. Okay, so before I go in there, let's look for the file sp022020. Yes, this is it. sp02 yat.csv. Now, taking a glance at this, we will assume that it's a Microsoft Excel file, but it's not. It is a CSV file. As you can see from the extension, we have .csv. And the tooltip tells us that it's a Microsoft Excel comma separated value file. So a CSV is actually a comma separated value file, right? It is a generic file type. It is a text file. But anytime we install Microsoft Office Suite, Microsoft Excel is given or let's say CSV files are assigned to Microsoft Excel, all right? So anytime you see a CSV file, it will have the Microsoft Excel icon or logo, but it's not. It's actually a text file. So when we come to import back to Access, we say new data source from file. We don't choose Excel. We choose text file. So I click that, I browse. Now I want to head to where I have my source files. It's in here, Y23 SP02 YATS. Okay. I click OK. I click next. Now this is very important to have first row contains field names. All right. If I don't tick this, and let me just skip everything and just click, let's say next, and just click finish, just to give you an idea what happens. Now, when I do this, now you see my table is showing field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4, which doesn't align with this. All right. So it means that there's a mistake somewhere. So let me delete my tables and then start over. So under external data, under the import and link group, come to new data source, from file, text file. I browse, I look for SP02 YATS, I open, click OK, I click next, I make sure I have this. First row contains field names, very necessary. Then I can click next, then I come to advanced. This is where I cross-check my field names against the data types, right? So YAT, it says text, which is short text in access, which is fine. Type, it says text, which is short text, which is fine. YAT ID, it says text, which is short text, which is fine. Length, it says number. Here it says double. We know that it ought to be decimal because of here. So double in access is the same as decimal. Builder ID is text, which is short text. Price, it says long integer, but this one says currency. So straight away, we change price to currency. Build year, sleep, screw are all number. We leave it at long integer. We're fine. Okay. So we click OK. Then we go next. Now, primary key. Now the question said, set YAT ID as a primary key. We save our data and then we place in our evidence document a screenshot showing the field names, data types, and primary key. So YAT ID, I can choose to select from here, or I can just click here, and then YAT ID is set. So next, finish, close. So my table is here. If I double click, I get my table. Okay, so in here, anytime you see this pound sign or hashtags, it means that the allocated space is too small to show the entire data. So I can just double click in between price and build year field names, and then I get this. Okay, so we've done this, we ought to do this. To do this, we head into design view. So I come home. So there are two views, datasheet view, design view. I click design view here. I can also right click here and get design view. Either way, it's fine. So for length, it says 1 decimal place. So I choose length, and then here decimal places, it says auto. I need to make it 1. Then for currency, it says 0 decimal places. So for price, which is currency, decimal places auto. So I choose 0. Okay, then I can right click and save. And then here it says that place in your evidence document a screenshot showing the field names, data types, primary key used in the table. This is what you're talking about. So we have to take a screenshot. We can use a snipping to the print screen or the shortcut Windows Shift S, which will give us the option to take this screenshot and paste it in our documents. Okay. So I go back to datasheet view, I click, I close, I'm done with this. Okay, so off to the next one. Examine the file sp02builders.csv and identify the most appropriate field to set as a primary key. Import this field as a new table in your database. Format all data types as text. Set the identified field as a primary key and place in your evidence document a screenshot showing the field names, data types, and primary key used. So in the first question, we could see that we were given the primary key. Now in this question, we were not given the primary key. We are asked to identify our own primary key. To do that, let's head to our folder and look for the file sp02builders. We have to open it up in Microsoft Excel. Okay, So we can select all columns and just double click when we have this cursor sign so that everything opens up. Then we click here to select the data. We head to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, duplicate values. Now we know that one of the key properties of a primary key is that there should be no duplicate. So by doing this, we are trying to identify columns or fields with duplicate. If there's any duplicate, it cannot be a primary key. So when I click OK, straight away we can see that place, region, zip code, build country, country, services, country ID cannot be a primary key. Let's scroll down to see if telephone has any duplicate. Nope. The same with builder name, builder ID, and address. So these are our 4 candidate key. A candidate key is any key that can pass as a primary key. Okay. So now telephone could be, but in this case, let's not go for telephone. Address could be a primary key, but there's a possibility that in the future there might be 2 builders with a same address. All right, especially for this 75 Mill Street. If they are on the same 75 Mill Street, it's the same address. All right. A builder name in this context, we might not have 2 builders with the same name, but if this database should grow, there's a possibility that there will be a number of builders with the same name. All right. So the data is SP02 builders, and we have this builder ID here. So it is the most sensible key to choose for a primary key. Builder ID for a builder table, there's no duplicate, so we choose that as our primary key. So since we've identified a primary key, we can just close, no saving. All right, we only came to identify our primary key. Now we go through the process, external data, and then import and link new data from file, text file. Browse. We look for SP02 builders. We open. Okay. We say next. First row contains field names. Very important. Next. Advanced. Now, because we were not given a template to follow like this, we may be tempted to think everything is all right. But the question then says format all data types as text. Now, if we look in here, everything appears to be short text, short text, short text. When we scroll down, telephone is long integer. If we leave it as short text, we've done something wrong there. So let's change it to what? Short text like the others. Okay, so okay. Next, now for primary key, we identify builder ID. So choose my own primary key, builder ID, or I can just come here and choose builder ID. Next, finish. Close. So for builders, it's also done. Now let's do this part. Place in your evidence document the screenshot showing the field names, data types, and the primary key used. Quickly we open that in design view. Either we come here or we go here. Okay, so I take our screenshots using the snipping tool, Windows Shift S or the print screen. We take our screenshot, we go back, we close this one. All right, so that's that with important. All right. Okay, so let's try another paper just to import another set. So let's say the H2421. Says you are now going to prepare a report. Dates are to be imported in the format day, month, year. Okay. Now, anytime you are importing data in Access, it is very important that you take note if you have a date field. There are times that the date order in the data will be different from the date order in your Microsoft Access. All right. But here we've been given that day, month, year. So let's quickly go. It says use database software to import the file to J2421 child.csv as a new table. Use these field names and data types as we did from the last time. The last name type is text. First name type is text. child ID text, gender text, date of birth is date and time, which is a numeric field. Reg date is date and time. Food allergy is Boolean. Contact name is text. Relationship is text. Contact number is text. Set child ID as the primary key. Save the data. Place in your evidence document a screenshot showing the field names, data types, and primary key. Import. Okay, so let's do the first set, which is importing this. So okay, let me create a new blank database. This time is just for, okay, let me also change the name. So M24DB create. So I don't need this. I close this. I'm going to go a bit faster because we've done the first one. So under import and link, new data from file, text file, browse. So let's go up a bit. Data can be found J2421 child. Open. Okay. Next. Very important. First row contains your names. Next. Now, the date fields. These are the date fields, DOB and reg date. Now, when we look at the data, we can tell that the order is day, month, year. Looking at an example like this, we cannot tell because the limits for the day and the month has not been exceeded. But for something like this date, 19, we know that month cannot go beyond 12. So if 19 is here, then it's day, month, year. So in advance, we make sure that date order here is day, month, year, because that's what our data is bringing in. If it's month, day, year, we change to month, day, year. If it's day, year, month, we change to day, year, month. But this is day, month, year. And fortunately, that is what Access has as default, so we leave it. Okay. So let's come to, so last name, first name, child ID, and gender are all text. So let's see, last name, text, first name, text, child ID, text, gender, text. DOB and reg date, date and time, and that is what we have here in Access, date with time. All right. Food allergy is Boolean. Here it shows long integer, so we change to Boolean. In Access, Boolean is yes or no. Contact name, relationship, contact number are all text. So contact name, text, relationship, text, contact number, it shows long integer, but we ought to change to what? Short text. That's about it. Okay, go to next. It gave us a primary key. It says was set child ID as the primary key. So let me choose my own primary key, child ID. Next. Finish. Okay, close. Okay, so this is our table. Now the Boolean field is showing as tick boxes, but under display it says is to display as yes or no. Okay. And then the date should be day, month, year. The date is already all right. Day, month, year. But we need to fix this. So to do that, home, design view. Under food allergy, which is the Boolean field. Now we have this options under general. So we need to go to head to lookup. It says checkbox. We need to change from checkbox to text box. Then when we come back to general, we say yes or no. Let's come back to the data sheet view to see if anything changed. So now it's yes or no. So this part of the question has been met. So we are fine. Then place in your evidence document a screenshot showing the field name, data types, and primary key. So we need to head back to design view and take a screenshot of this. So take our screenshots. We're fine. Okay, so we are done. Let's save and close. So the next aspect, it says import the file j2421bookings.csv as a new table. Use these field names and data types and create a primary key field called ID. So this time we are not supposed to identify any field as a primary key, and we're not given one. We were asked to create one, and Microsoft Access can help us with that very easily. This is where we use the auto number data type we talked about. So let's go, external data, new data source, from file, text file, browse, It was j2421bookings.csv. j2421bookings.csv. That's it. Open. Okay. Next. First name contains field names. Next. Now let's do advanced. Okay. Session, child ID, day. They are all text. Session, child ID, day, all text. Start time, end time, date and time. Start time, end time, date and time. Session, text. So we are fine. All right. Next, here we say let access add primary key, and that's it, the ID. And you can see that the number is incrementing. It is increasing by 1. That is how the auto number data type field works. All right. It adds a field that says an ID and increments it. Okay. That means it adds 1 every time a new record is added. Right. So because the question says create a primary key field called ID, luckily it created the field for us called ID. Assuming we were given a different name, then once we are done, we need to go into the design view and change the name. And I'll show you how to do that a bit. But this one, it says ID. So we are done. So next, finish. Okay, we close. Let's check our bookings. Everything is fine. But our date is showing hour, minute, seconds. But the display says just hour and minute, no seconds. So home, design view. Now, so assuming we're given a different name for ID, let's say booking ID, we can easily change it here. Okay, but we're just given ID, so let's keep it as it is. But now for start time and date time, we were asked to, and end time, we were asked to make it hour and minute. Our data is currently, no, I didn't do anything. So do you want to save? Okay, save. It's currently hour, minute, seconds. So in here, and the start time and the format, we choose just hour and minutes, no seconds. All right, the same for end time. The format, we choose just hour and minute, no seconds. So view, yes. So we have what? Just hour and minute, just hour and minute. And yeah, that's that. All right. So placing evidence document showing a screenshot, which is what we do. Quickly, we take our screenshot, and we are good to go. Close this. Now, okay. All right. So the last example, I'll not really go through it. I just want to point something out to you, which is in the M2321. All right. So here it says that we are going to import just like we saw, but this time it says do not import the English field. Okay. So let's use this file M23 test in the same database. It's just to point out something. So I browse. It was M23. Okay. Wait. Oh, I think I have the wrong file. Is the M23 test.csv. There's a file. Open. Okay. Next. Important. Next. Advanced. Now we can see there's English field here, but the question says do not import. So what we do is under skip, we choose to skip it, and then it's not imported. All right, that's what I wanted to point out. So I cancel. I don't need that now. All right, so let me close this, and we are done. So that is it with importing CSVs into our Microsoft Access application to create tables for our database. Now the second aspect of the question, going back to the specimen, it says create a one-to-many relationship between the builder ID fields. Place in your evidence document screenshots showing the one-to-many relationship between the tables. So let me see if I can get that other one. I think it closed. So let me go to file, which is the Y23DB. Okay, I click enable content. Now to create that relationship, we head to database tools. All right, then under relationships, we get this. Okay, we can either double click or click and click add. We click and then we click add. These are the two tables we need. So I can open them up here to make sure all my fields are showing. Now the question said between the builder ID fields. So there's builder ID here and there's builder ID here. So I can just click this builder ID and drop on this builder ID. So we see the relationship type, one-to-many. Okay. Now the question says placing evidence document showing the one-to-many relationship. So we have to take a screenshot of this, right? This pop-up window, because this one shows the one-to-many relationship. Okay. So it says builder ID in the SP0 builders table, builder ID in the SP0 yards table. We click create. That's that. We close. Yes. And then we are okay. Okay. If I want to do the same for this, create a one-to-many relation between the child ID fields in the child and booking table. Let me switch databases. Under normal circumstances, you don't have to switch database, but because of how I'm demonstrating this, that's why I'm just switching databases. So database tools, relationships, I add, I click, I add. When I'm done, I close, I drag, child here, child there. So you can see that it's a primary key here there's no key, so it's a foreign key. So I click, I have child, it's one-to-many. I take a screenshot of this to show the one-to-many. I click create. In case you create a relationship before you see the screenshot aspect, don't worry, just try and right click this line. When you get this edit relationship, this one pops back up. You take the screenshot. When I'm done, I close, say yes. All right, so this is it with important tables and creating relationships between them. So we'll end the video here. The next video will be on working with creating reports and queries. All right, so stay tuned. Bye.